Welcome to the battlefront. Today, we're diving into the story of one of the greatest Special Forces units in the world, the U.S. Army's first Special Forces Operational Detachment, or simply Delta Force. The post-World War II era introduced a new type of warfare, empowering militarily irrelevant nations that adopted terrorist tactics to achieve goals they could never attain through diplomacy or conventional military means. When this new form of warfare began, the United States was unprepared. It lacked a national policy, intelligence capability to predict terrorist acts, or a military force trained in counterterrorism. The 1970s were marked by traumatic events for Western forces in the fight against terrorism. The Munich Olympics massacre, the Entebbe airport events in 1976 Uganda, and the deaths of 41 Marines in a failed rescue attempt in Cambodia clearly showed that the U.S. and its allies were unprepared to handle hostage situations. By the mid-70s, three American government officials began pushing for the creation of a specialized elite unit to counter this unconventional threat. Lieutenant General Meyer, the Army's Director of Operations, Major General Kingston, Commander of the Army Special Forces, and Robert Kaufman, Head of the Arms Control Agency, who was conducting a terrorism study for the government. Lieutenant General Meyer presented the concept of this special mission unit to the Army's Chief of Staff, General Bernard Rogers. The unit was to become the U.S.'s first counterterrorism force, possessing unmatched capabilities. The plan called for the unit to be organized into 3 operational squadrons and a support squadron, comprised of Army personnel with maturity, courage, motivation, and physical and mental skills to handle any crisis. On November 21, 1977, the Army officially activated the unit, but it took 2 more years to develop the tactics and procedures required for its mission. Named the first Special Forces Operational Detachment Delta, or Delta Force, it's more commonly referred to as the Combat Applications Group, CIG, today. The new elite unit was placed under the command of Army Colonel Charlie Beckwith, who had served with the British SAS during a Vietnam War exchange program in the 1960s and returned to the U.S. Army inspired to create a similar organization. It's important not to confuse Delta Force with the Delta Project, also known as Detachment B-52, a special force deployed to Vietnam in the mid-60s, which was once commanded by Colonel Beckwith, but was entirely different in concept and purpose. Delta Force set up its headquarters at Fort Bragg, North Carolina, adopting the SAS's structure, considered the most organized in the world. Delta is divided into squadrons, which are further subdivided into troops. Troops typically consist of 16 highly capable men, both physically and mentally, able to operate in any situation. In its early stages, there was only one squadron, Squadron A, which later split to form Squadron B in early 1979. Today, Delta Force comprises 13 squadrons, A, B, and C, created shortly before the Gulf War, each with 75 members commanded by a lieutenant colonel. Despite having access to the best U.S. arsenal today, in its early days, Delta trained with outdated Colt 1911 pistols and M3A1 submachine guns, donated by the CIA. Each troop, consisting of 15 to 20 members, is subdivided into teams of 4 to 6 men, all of whom are sergeants of various ranks. These teams are tailored to specific specialties such as diving, high-altitude jumping, and mountain operations, with distinct roles like aerial or maritime activities. Delta Force also has a communications platoon and an aviation platoon equipped with H-60 and MH-6 helicopters, often disguised with civilian colors and false registration numbers for covert operations. This aviation component reportedly originated from the CIA's Special Activities Division, working in collaboration with the Army. Additionally, Delta frequently relies on the 160th Special Operations Aviation Regiment, SOAR, for global operations. The unit also includes a special platoon, Squadron E, nicknamed the Funny Platoon, responsible for intelligence gathering. It features both male and female operatives who infiltrate target areas in advance to collect intelligence for upcoming missions. Delta Force is supported by smaller units managing selection and training, logistics, finance, R&D, medical services, technology, and electronics. It's estimated to have 300 to 400 frontline operators and an equal number of support personnel, totaling nearly 800 members. Most Delta recruits come from elite Army units, such as the Rangers or Special Forces groups, but candidates can be drawn from any Army unit, including the Reserves, National Guard, or other branches. Candidates are selected through three main methods: internal Army announcements, personal recommendations, or, in rare cases, targeted recruitment for individuals with specialized skills, such as exceptional marksmanship or fluency in critical languages. Recruits undergo a rigorous selection and training process inspired by the British SAS, refined over time to match the demands of modern warfare. With no budget limitations, Delta boasts world-class facilities, including shooting ranges, diving tanks, and climbing walls. Delta operatives train continuously for any eventuality. Snipers, for instance, must achieve 100% accuracy at 600 yards and 90% at 1,000 yards. They also practice in simulated confined environments, such as houses or aircraft cabins, to master close-quarters combat. Originally created as a counterterrorism unit, Delta Force quickly saw its operators deployed in guerrilla combat missions in South America, training counterterrorism forces in impoverished countries like Sudan and Egypt, or providing security for U.S. embassies in high-risk locations, such as Lebanon. Another example of operations beyond its original purpose was Delta's participation alongside regular forces in Operation Desert Storm in 1991, during the hunt for Saddam Hussein's Scud ballistic missiles. This was driven by the American political interest in keeping Israel out of that war. Additionally, Delta took part in peacekeeping operations in Somalia during the 1990s, which culminated in the events following Operation Gothic Serpent in that country. These examples demonstrate how Delta Force evolved from a hostage rescue unit into a highly secretive special operations force, conducting a wide variety of missions in multiple formats. However, Delta Force's involvement in operations within the United States is extremely rare. Its operators may be deployed as observers, advisors, or direct operatives, but always covertly. One example, still unconfirmed officially, is the alleged involvement of Delta Force during the siege of the Branch Davidians religious sect, led by the FBI in Waco, Texas, in February 1993. In any situation involving a nuclear terrorism threat, weapons of mass destruction, or threats to government officials, Delta Force is likely to be involved. Until recently, this unit was kept in the shadows, with its actions denied or suppressed by the U.S. government. However, the Pentagon has since shifted its stance, not only acknowledging its existence, but also highlighting its importance in the context of 21st century warfare. Although information about its personnel, missions, and operators remains highly classified, what you've seen in this video is the origin and a glimpse of the structure of the United States' premier special operations force and one of the greatest in the world. If you like this video, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. It's free and helps us bring more content like this.